Hi, I'm Teacher Rod of Igama Colleges Foundation Incorporated, your English 9 teacher. This time, we are going to talk about the chapter 2 of your research, which is the reviewing of literature. Now, reviewing a literature provides an overview of what has been written about a specific topic. The review of literature includes practically all the information and data which are authoritative and relevant to the topic of the studies in the case of research and similar scholarly undertakings. The literature can cover a range of sources. You can get it from journal articles, monographs, computerized database, conference proceedings, theses and dissertations, empirical studies, government reports and reports from other bodies, historical records, or statistical handbooks and the likes. And now, the question is, why do we need to write literature review of our research? Basically, it will help you come up with enriching your research idea. There are also means of ensuring that your ideas has not been researched on by someone else. Hence, there is a need to conduct a literature review. Now, Dempster and Hanna 2016 provide some reasons why a review is done. These are the following. To indicate the research that has been conducted in the area before, to ensure that you are not reinventing the wheel. Second, to demonstrate that you are aware of important and recent studies in your study area. Third, to ensure that you haven't missed literature detailing a novel for you to conduct your study, or pointing you to the data collection tool that is most appropriate for your study. Fourth, to explain the theoretical background to your proposed research project. And lastly, to demonstrate your ability to critically analyze the literature in your study area. Now, in literature review, you also have options of types of reviewing the literature. First, traditional, also referred to as narrative literature. It provides a quick overview of current studies. It helps explain why your study is important in the context of the literature and can also help you identify areas that need further research. Second, integrative. This review synthesizes findings from different approaches according to Whitmore and Knopf 2005. This approach allows the integration of qualitative and quantitative studies. Third, syntactic. This review synthesizes high-quality empirical information to answer a given research question. Conducting a systematic review involves following rigorous, predefined protocols that minimize bias and ensure transparency. And last is scoping. This review involves a broad research question that explores the current evidence base. It can help inform areas that are appropriate for a systematic review. That is according to Armstrong, Hall, Doyle, and Waters in 2011. Searching for information related to the research being undertaken needs time and much thought. Sources can be classified into two types: primary sources or secondary sources. In effect, researchers, when preparing a literature review, need to refer any for all of these sources to ensure that other works dealing with their intended study can shed light on their own, as well as glean information from them and evaluate their current work. Now, as implied earlier, research makes use of previous information and data from statements of experts which are expressed in various sources, most common of which are books, journals, and computer databases. Information culled from various sources can support the process on the interpretation and analysis of data. It is necessary that proper citations are followed. Here are the styles for indicating your sources both in the body of the report or in the reference section at the end of your research paper. First, the APA style. This is an author or date-based style. This means emphasis is placed on the author and the date of the literature to uniquely identify it. Second is the MLA style. This is most often applied in the arts and humanities, particularly in the USA. Third, Harvard is very similar to APA, the Harvard style. It is the most well-used referencing style in the UK and Australia. And lastly is the Chicago and Turabian. These are two separate styles but very similar. They are also widely used for history and economics. Though there are choices from different referencing styles, you should use particular style your school recommends. And in our case, here in IGAMA Colleges Foundation Incorporated, ladies and gentlemen, we will be using the APA style. Here are ways also for citing related literature. By author or writer, state it as, according to Felipe, open and close parentheses, the date, and then state the information. Or second, by topic, state first the information, just like this. It has been found out that, then put the information, and then at the end of the sentence is the author and the date inside the open and close parentheses. And by chronology, example, according to Felipe, pregnancy is a condition where women should take extra care for themselves. And close parentheses, Felipe, 2015. This time, I'm gonna show you sample citations. If your reference is book, your citations should look like this. Last name, first name, of course the initial, and the year, open and close parentheses, the book title, and if there are any subtitle, then subtitle, and the edition, first, second, third, and place, and then after the place is the publisher. Now, take note that the reference list is for the papers you have read only. Now, how to cite if the information is from a website? For a passing reference to a website in text, when we say in text, it is in the content, body content. You included it in the body content. The URL is sufficient. No reference list is needed. However, when you are citing a particular document or piece of information from a website, include both a reference list entry and an in-text citation. Determine the type of content on the web page, and you should provide the following pieces of information: the author, the date, title of document, and then indicate it in formal description, and retrieve from, and then put the link. Now, what about when we use ebooks? The reference list entries an ebook for a whole ebook and a chapter in an ebook are exemplified as, for the whole ebook, state first the author, and then the initial name, then the date, the title of book, and then retrieve from the link. Where did you get that information? And for YouTube video, state first the author's last name, first initial, then open and close parentheses the YouTube name, the screen name, and then the year, month, and day uploaded, title of video, and of course that is a video file, and retrieve it from, and then the link. Now, for audiobook or CD, state first the author's last name, initial, year, book title, place, and publisher. And guys, take note to properly use those punctuation marks. And now, for other citations like encyclopedia, entry or print, magazine article, journal article, just examine the given examples. A good literature review, if done scientifically, will give credence to your study, using sources to enrich and support ideas and information in your investigation, particularly the words of critics in the field. However, correct citation of these sources needs to be observed, and then, okay, this time synthesizing information from relevant literature is also important, because to synthesize an article means that in your literature review, you examine a number of studies on a shared topic and note aspects that are of interest to your own work. The purpose is to provide your reader better understanding of the literature related to your topic. A synthesis is a discussion that draws on one or more sources Your ability to infer relationships among various forms of sources will be helpful in synthesizing information taken from your review of literature. Synthesis refers to the bringing together of materials from different sources and the creation of an integrated whole. In the case of your research, the whole is your structured review of relevant works in your coherent argument for the study that you are doing. Now, how to synthesize? Simply, first, gather literature that addresses your research question, and then review them and take notes. Describe, summarize, analyze, and identify key concepts. And then lastly, you are going to synthesize literature. You may compare and contrast, critically evaluate, and interpret so that you can draw conclusion. Also, literature, as in any form of writing, demands the observance of coherence. Your literature review should have three main components. These are the introduction, body, and conclusion. The introduction should define your topic and provide an appropriate context for reviewing the literature. It should establish your reasons, or example, point of view for reviewing the literature. And you should explain the organization, example, sequence of the review, and state the scope of the review, example, what is included and what isn't included. For example, if you were reviewing the literature on obesity in children, you might say something like, there are a large number of studies of obesity trends in the general population. However, since the focus of this research is on obesity in children, this will not be reviewed in detail and will only be referred to as appropriate. And now, the main body or the body should organize the literature according to common themes. It should provide insight into the relation between your chosen topic and the wider subject area, example, between obesity in children and obesity in general. And it should also move from a general, wider view of the literature being reviewed to the specific focus of your research. And the conclusion should summarize the important aspects of the existing body of literature. It should evaluate the current state of the literature reviewed, and it should identify significant flaws or gaps in existing knowledge. It should outline areas for future study, and it will link your research to existing knowledge. Now, there are also some rules that can guide you in writing of literature review. Observance of these rules can help you towards preparing a sound and relevant literature. First, you should define the topic and the audience. You should research or search and research reference list. You should prepare a conceptual diagram of the need for the different types of literature review, and you should take notes while reading. You should choose the type of review you wish to write. Keep the review focused and make it of broad interest. Be critical and consistent. Find a logical structure and make use of feedback. Okay, so moreover, upon recording a source, index card is very helpful for you. Index cards are among the most handy research tools ever invented. Using index card will help facilitate the writing of an effective review of literature. Important features and content can be outlined and recorded on these cards. Doing this will make it easy for you, the researcher, to organize and put together the needed information for this section of the research paper. Look at the index card example. Top left of the index card indicate the topic. On the top right, indicate the source, the name, year, published, title of book, and the like. At the middle, of course, is the information you quote. And at the bottom right is the page where you get the information. That is the proper use on how to use index card. And now, according to Frankel and Wollen 2010, there are also ethics to follow. These are some unethical practices related to research. Let us read number 1. Require a group of high school sophomores to sign a form in which they agree to participate in a research study. Remember, never ever require respondents to participate in the study. They are not obliged. They have their choices whether to participate or not. Okay, examine the number 2 or the next one. Ask first graders sensitive questions without obtaining the consent of their parents to question them. Okay? Of course, in every research, it's ethical to ask consent before you collect data. And the last one, you delete data you collected and that do not support your hypothesis. Is this right? Of course, no. Because one of the characteristics of a research is about being empirical. Whatever the result, then be it. Never ever change it. There are a number of ethical principles that should be taken into account when doing a senior high school research or undergraduate thesis. At the core, these ethical principles is just the need to do good, or known as beneficiaries, and to do no harm, or known as malfeasance. In practice, this ethical principle means that as a researcher, you need to obtain informed consent from potential research participants and minimize the risk of harms, and lastly, to protect their confidentiality. And of course, to avoid using deceptive practices and give participants the right to withdraw from your research. So they have their own options, whether to participate or not. To have a good literature review, make sure to observe the following. It should be focused. It presents only ideas and reports on studies that are closely related to the topic. It should be concise. The ideas should be presented economically. It should be logical. The flow within and among paragraphs should be a smooth, logical progression from one idea to the next. It should be developed. The ideas are fully and completely written. And it should be integrative. It shows how ideas are related and how all reviewed materials contribute to your topic. And lastly, it should be current. It exhibits up-to-date information related to your study. And this is the end of our discussion. Now, Chapter 2 of your research may be resource draining depending on your title. However, this is the part where you as researchers have to be resourceful, especially this time that we are in pandemic. Good luck and be patient. See you again next time. Remember to send me your exit responses on our chat room with the following given patterns. 3 things you've learned today, 2 things you've found interesting with this lecture, and 1 question you still have in your mind regarding the lesson. And don't forget also to rate your understanding of today's learning by sending one of the following emojis: satisfied, happy, confused, boring, and sleepy. See you again in our next discussion.